I thought we certainly took strides through the year. Sometimes they didn't always show, and the end result in games. But that being said, I thought our push down the last month of the season, it showed what our character is like, just not on the team now, but what our character is going to be like moving forward. And even in this first round of playoffs, it was such it's disappointing the fact you're up 3-1 in the series, you're not able to close it off. But that being said, we had a lot of elements that when you go into a series like that were people on the outside could sit there and say that, geez, they have no chance, or whatever. They're not the team that Lethbridge is. They don't have all the young guys on the back end, and and all that stuff. A lot of inexperience in your team, and that's probably some of it did affect us at some point through the series. I thought some of the inexperience did catch up to us, especially on the back end as the series went on. I thought those guys wore down. Our young players wore down in the series, and that's why finishing a series when you're up 3-1 like that was important, to end it as quick as possible in your favor. But the longer it went, the more difficult it seemed to be for us, just simply that these kids were getting worn down with it. And then but overall, I guess, when you bring in a lot of young players, you hope they develop, you hope they grow to what you're hoping they can be now, but where they can be at down the road. And I think we took a lot of great strides in that too.
Is this more or less in line with your 2-year plan that you had going into even last year moving forward?
Well, we knew that we'd have some carryover off our MIM Cup team, and yet next season it's going to be pretty well, outside of Hags and Pauly. You're basically starting a whole fresh new group again, and we're definitely going to be bringing in some more young kids this coming season. There's some young kids that we feel really good about that can even, push for jobs that some of the older guys have right now. So just that they're just at their stage where they're at as 16 and 17-year-old players now. So, we'll see. I mean, that'll all sort itself out in the fall time. And but we knew going in with the goaltending situation that we were going to have some ups and downs. We had an opportunity to acquire some assets back that we'd lost in the MIM Cup, so our cupboard wouldn't be looking half full, and moving forward for the future of this franchise. And we had to make some trades that you normally probably wouldn't have made if you weren't coming out of a MIM Cup year. And and then you're able to do the trade where you end up trading a good young player in Josh Mahara, but you knew he was only going to be in the league for another year and a half, and you had to trade Jeff DeWitt, who was your first round pick for you, but you're able to get a Lane Zablocki that's going to be a huge player for us next year, because we needed to be able to add some offense to our team next year, knowing that the forward group could be a pretty young group next year. And yet we were able to get Bart's back in that deal too, who's going to be a really good young player in this league, and a good player in this league, and he's only 16, and also to get 2 first-round draft picks was huge for us. So but it was a good trade for both teams, and the timing of it was really important for Regina and ourselves. So so now you're looking at a cupboard now that's full again, and we can continue to move forward with our plan. And at the start, when we did this last year when we were hosting the MIM Cup, we did not want to move any of our defensemen away at that point in time, because we knew that if we can do this right, that we'd be building this team around a new goaltending and new young defense. And now our defense looks good. We're going to have them all back next year except for Bob's, and yet we got a couple others that are going to be pushing and playing the team too that we have on our list that we think are close. So, so that'll sort itself out too. So, what the year it was a year that was about development. It was a year about progression. And it was a year about putting these young players through some experience that that we thought could really help down the road, and getting into a playoff experience like that and going into a Game 7 in an opposing team's building, that was totally something new, and for them all. And that being said, I was really happy with the way our vets responded too, especially the guys that were part of the Memorial Cup process. You couldn't ask any more the way they played in playoffs for us. They played outstanding, and some of the young kids struggled at it just because it was new to them. But the older players put those young guys on their back, and they got us to an opportunity to push to a Game 7. And like I said, it wasn't the end result we would have wanted, but at the same time, I knew going in, that everyone on the outside wasn't giving us much of a chance, but we believed inside that if we did things the right way, that we can make it interesting, and I like to think we did.
Yeah, you're seeing guys like Evan Pillai and Adam Musil move on. Those guys have been here for a little bit. What do you think with those guys and what they brought to this team over the time?
Well, happens all the time. Players, they've been part of your program for a few years, and they get to their 19-20-year-old seasons, and they're moving on to pro hockey. And you look at Muse. He's a signed player, and he's moving on, and he's going to be playing pro probably here in the next few days. And Evan, he's moving on now too, and with the new contract, and so he's moving on, and and Spash is in negotiations right now. So, that's all part of it, right? And these players have all been good players for us, and and yet when they get 19, 20 years of age, it's a difficult day because these guys that have been with you, through the process here for the last few years and through it all, and they're young men. They went from being 16, 17-year-old players now to being 20-year-olds and 19, 20-year-olds, and moving on to their life and moving on to higher heights as far as level of play, and maybe moving on to school now, and hopefully be great business people in a community somewhere. And it's hard because they're like your own kids. But that being said, some other 16 and 17-year-olds are going to be coming in new next year, and it's a whole new fresh start for them.
Especially with a guy like Evan, but your veterans this year, again, very active in the community. I know that's something you preach. It really took that relationship with Central Alberta to heart.
Well, it's a big part of our organization, is being very community involved. We think it's a significant part of an individual's growth, and being part of a community, and understanding how it's a privilege to play in Red Deer and play for the Rebels, and not everyone gets that opportunity, and when you can give back to the community and give back to others in the community and help out in the community that you're playing in and part of, it's significant and makes an impact, just not for our own organization, but it makes an impact in your community, and for a lot of different reasons. And so it's certainly is huge for our program, and you know what, most of them all, or all of them to a T, have all been great in our community as far as putting that time and effort into it. And it's nothing that we should be surprised of, but it's something that we think is also very, very important.